That's it. No more wheels from here.
Alright, guess I'm walking then.
Yo. Check it out.
What? And this is?
From Morrison. I think it's his manifesto.
Hey, we doing this or what?
I'm waiting on you. I'm cooking. Any special orders?
And welcome back to part 2 of Devil May Cry 5, where today we're tackling the second mission of the game, Clyfoth, which is pretty similar to the mission 2 of Devil May Cry 4, but at the same time it also kind of mirrors it, and both of them are just as effective as each other at doing what they need to do to kind of be the first proper level of the game. Because the prologue in this was just like 2 encounters and then a boss that you lost, and the first mission was like, what, 2 encounters and then a boss that was really easy. But this is the first really lengthy mission that just lets you crack on, get a feel for the level design and mechanics, and lets you work stuff out. But the reason why I said it mirrors mission 2 from DMC4 is that in DMC4 the mission started in the day, and when you got to the end of the mission it was the night. But if you pay attention to now, it's going to be the other way around in this mission. It starts in the dead of night, like in the very, very early hours of the morning. And then as we go through, the sun's going to gradually start rising. And then by the time we're at the end, it's a bright mid-morning kind of time. And I really appreciate like that they went out of their way to kind of make that mirroring. And it also has like, I'm not going to say the best boss in the game, because that's not. It's in the same vein that Burial wasn't the best boss in the game at DMC4. But it's the best real first challenge boss that you could get before they start mixing it up, starting with the next mission, which is exactly the same as what they did in DMC4. Like, although there's some familiarity, it doesn't feel like they're just repeating themselves. It feels like they've just got a working formula, and so they're just playing around with it a little bit while still keeping the core that makes it so enjoyable. As I punched that Death Scissors in the face, you know, a returning enemy from DMC1, and technically DMC3, even though it was like kind of a different enemy in how they handled it, because it had a scythe, not the scissors, and it was more physical in body, not more astral like they are in 1 and 5. But over here is a secret little spot where you can fight another one of those, the red abuses, which will have more backup on the harder difficulties than what it does on normal. But not by much. It always has backup, but it's just... don't worry about it too much. Just go on a killing spree. Like, these are all like the fodder enemies that are kind of here. Outside of the weakest one, those very basic abuses. Because they are the fodder to AT. Even on DMD, they die super quick. But I learned a valuable lesson from part 1 when I went to upload it, that when I say it, it's going to sound obvious, but it just didn't cross my mind up until the second I hit upload. On PS4, as you know, the limit on how much you could record was always at 720p at 30 frames per second. You couldn't increase the frame rate, and you couldn't increase the recording quality. That was what you were stuck with. And that was fine for its time, but it was what it was. But on PS5, you can have it record at 4K if you want, but I don't know what that does to the frame rate, or what I've got it recorded at, which is 1080-60. Doubling the frame rate severely increased the file size. Like, the picture quality probably didn't help either. Like, 1080p probably added it a lot, but my goodness, doubling the frame rate, it was like... It went from half an hour-ish to go from pressing the upload button for it being ready to go on YouTube to around 4 hours. I was like, oh god. So I'm having to reorganize my like personal kind of little schedule I do, where usually the very first thing I do when I wake up, like after I've had some food, is my recording. So I almost do it like work before play. Like I do my recording, then I do whatever I'm going to do. Instead, anything time sensitive I'm going to do first. So, like, for instance, like, my dailies in Genshin, and, like, spending all my resin, because your resin counts up over time and has a hard limit, I do that first, and then do my recording, then it's play, or whatever else I'm doing. Which also means, not just because of a slightly reorganized schedule, but just because it takes longer to upload, there's a good chance that my uploads, when they actually hit YouTube and are viewable to watch, might be slightly later in the day than they usually are. I usually try and have them out before the afternoon UK time. Which, if you're watching from the US or whatever, it doesn't matter, because by the time it if it uploads like mid to late morning UK time, you guys I don't think are even up yet. So that's fine. So if it ends up uploading a little later, it's like the start of the afternoon, you guys will only just be getting up, sort of thing, around that time. As I show off more DT, because I kind of got it really. I love what they've done. I know it's spoilers, and I completely forgot to put the spoiler warning in the description, but I'll rectify that at some point when I remember. But because I'm doing it on DMD, there's no way to, as far as I'm aware, to access DMD without, you know, beating the game. Actually, no, I tell a lie. If you manage to win the prologue fight, it will give you a fake ending, but it will unlock the next difficulty without giving you anything. So it is possible actually to get DMD with nothing, but I'm not a psycho. I'm not going to do that. But I love what they did with Nero's DT. I liked the DT shadow thing that he had in 4, where it was like a silhouette behind him that attacked with him and used Yamato. I really did like that, but I just think giving him a straight up Devil Trigger in this was just the better option. And there are some secret red orbs here. There's 3 batches right next to each other, and they're some of the most annoying red orbs to get. Because 2 of them are on this statue, and Devil May Cry's platforming, even after all these years, is not its highlight. There we go. Oh, I'm just gonna shut up until I get it. But then, yeah, that's that one. And then this third one, the easiest one, because it's not a tight platformer, is just stand on this and stand still on it. I don't know if it is just it playing with my eyes and I just was like misplaced or something, but it feels like if you're holding down lock on when you're standing on a red orb spawn point, it doesn't spawn them in. So maybe deliberately let it go and just kind of stand neutral, and just in case you don't get it. But it might just be my coincidental that I was slightly misplaced or something, but it's always just felt that way in this game. Thankfully though, and it's a great improvement, unlike DMC4, this game does not give a shit about red orbs. It doesn't care about how much time you spend, it doesn't care how much damage you take, it doesn't care if you use items, because there are no items other than the gold orbs. They completely got rid of items in DMC5. All it cares about is just style points. But there's problems, and those problems are going to really start showing its face, specifically in some of Dante's missions. Specifically 10, 12, and 18, to jump the gun. Where the way the style system works is you'll go into an encounter, you'll do a fight, and it will say, say you get 5,100 points. That will set 5,100 points. You go to the next encounter, you do that encounter, and you would have got, say, 4,900 points. It will average it 5,000 as your entire style rating. Once you clear a zone in a level, which you won't really know what they are per se on your first run, it's only in the end screen, it will show you what you got per average in each zone. It will then reset it so you can start a new score and get a new average. At the end of the mission, it takes the average of all the zones to make your final score for your ranking. So say here in mission 2, I think there's 4 zones per se. You got that city block, the inside here, just outside it approaching, and then the boss. And so it will put those 4 style rating averages across all the encounters in here together to make our final rating, so to speak. The problem though that comes from this is we've wrecked this room, because this is actually a really fun room because it's claustrophobic and the ceiling's low, so you can't just air combo everything to death because you'll just get whacked anyway. I like these kind of claustrophobic fighting environments. It also admittedly kind of just reminds me of the DMC 3 and 4 halls, where you just go through the same kind of corridors, grinding it out, trying to learn all the finer machinations of the game. Because we didn't have training rooms, we didn't have a void mode. Back in the day, it was either Bloody Palace or going through missions again. I'm getting off topic with the mission rating. The problem is, say you do an encounter that has a shit ton of enemies, and so you get a super inflated style point out of it because of it, and you hit 6,000. But then along the way, the next encounter, it locks you in a room and there's literally only 1 enemy in there, and you get 600 points. It will average between that anyway. It doesn't give a shit. And that is why missions, like, the reason why I name and shame mission 10, 12, and 18 is because they're perfect examples of that. They are excruciatingly difficult to get the S ranks in because the style rating system was poorly, it's not as smartly implemented as they thought it was. I like the idea, it just needed some cleanup. And I know exactly what they should have done to clean it up. Firstly, and this is a very easy fix that they should have... I'm surprised they didn't just patch in, because everyone was saying it almost as soon as the game came out. Optional encounters shouldn't affect the average. Or if they are going to affect the average, make it so it doesn't base an average score on it. Instead, it just adds. Like, if it's like, because there's a couple points where you're going to see it, where you're going to see these little tentacle things pop up from the ground. They have like a spike on the end. And in almost every single circumstance, I just go past them. Because if you stop and fight them, they will die in 2 hits, and it will count it as an encounter because you fought them, and it will only negatively impact your stylus rating. It's impossible to get a positive out of it unless you're on 0. So you have no reason to fight them. An action game actively discourages you from engaging in the action because it negatively impacts your score. So things like that, if you do engage with them, should have either not affected it at all, or should have been it so it could only add on, because you're only getting 200 points anyway, so make it so it's just a hard addition and nothing else. So then you have reason to do it. But they didn't. It will affect your net average, and it will negatively punish your average. And you're going to see that a lot, specifically in 10, 12, and 18. If there's a fight I don't have to do, I won't do it, because I know it will only hurt my score. And although I'm not rank hunting, like, you're not going to see me S-rank every single mission in the game, because if I was doing an S-rank hunt, I would go out of my way to do the entire game on DMD. Like, straight up, I would do the entire game on DMD, not just Nero. But as I've said constantly every time, I don't enjoy V to do that. And 12... Well, like, I say 10, 12, and 18, but 12 in particular is the one that's always been my kryptonite in trying to get an S-rank in. Like, I will play it perfect, barely get hit, like, do the quad S, which I'll explain what quad S is later. If you know what it is, you know what I'm talking about. Like, alternate between all the weapons, like, use good variety of the style, get a good royal release in there somewhere as well, and then finish the score, and I'll be like 50 points under an S rank anyway. So as I said, the point requirement is different per difficulty. There's an encounter there that you can straight up skip. Like, I'll at least show it off because there's a little cutscene in it, and it's the introduction to these guys, so I should show it. But yeah, you can just straight up skip that encounter if you want to. But hey, but like, with each difficulty, the way it works is that Dancing Must Die is 6,000 points. You have to have 6,000 points at the end of the mission to get the S rank. Each difficulty after that lowers it by 500. So Son of Sparta is 5,500, normal is 5,000, easy is 4,500. And LDK, I have no idea, because you get like 15,000 points anyway. I think it's based on Son of Sparta's points, but I don't think it's... Outside of dying or using super characters, I don't think it's possible for you to get a ranking under S in LDK. And Heaven and Hell, you'll probably S-rank all the Heaven or Hell missions just because of the whole no damage requirement. You'll just run through it and shoot everything. You maybe with V's missions, because V is genuinely that... No, I'm being too harsh. Like, it's genuinely that annoying, because you still have to get the punishment afterwards. You can't just shoot them. And Hell and Hell is based off Son of Sparta's. And you do have to actually S-rank all of Son of Sparta to get the S-rank every mission and all difficulties trophy. This is the first game to count Hell and Hell. And, like, in the same vein of how I can imagine it super frustrated the Crash Bandicoot fans with some of the shit Crash Bandicoot 4 suddenly counted towards 100%, like getting the platinum time relics. Like, fuck off in the nicest possible way. I have no intention of 100% in Crash 4, and I don't think anyone does. Outside of Gerard the Completionist and like Caddy, I don't think anyone has the willpower to 100% Crash 4. And it's because it just made like these dumb additions to the 100% requirement that feel unnecessary, and making Hell and Hell full S rank list a requirement, that kind of just felt unnecessary to me, so I was just kind of... But I should talk about this because we're at it. Throughout the game, you're going to find, instead of just divinity statues, which do exist, you'll find divinity statues to upgrade as well later on. But for the most part, especially as Nero and V, you're going to find phones around the place. And if you go up to them and call them, you can call Nico, who will show up in the DMC van, and you can then click on the DMC van to start upgrading your stuff or buy new Devil Breakers if you're running out. Like, to use my example, I used a bunch of Devil Breakers in that tiny room earlier because of the Gerber's Burst, which is just what I'm going to call it, where you hold it down and then release, is a good room clearer because the lasers do more damage the more walls they bounce off. But I'm going to reorganize. I'm going to try and get a maximum damage strategy on the boss coming up, but I'm not going to lose sleep if I don't get it, which is why I'm putting Ragtime and Buster Arm right up in front. Because if I can help it, I'm going to max charge Ragtime, release it the very moment the boss is stunned, then do Showdown, then do Buster Arm. But we got a cutscene before I get to try that out.
Somebody call a doctor?
Human! I wasn't expecting any survivors!
Sorry to disappoint you. Hey, you happen to see a guy around here? About this big, uses a cane? I was supposed to meet him. Did you snack on him?
Your blood is a very precious sacrifice. Eating you would do me no good. I must have every last drop to rule the underworld as king.
King? You? I don't know. I mean, you're a big guy and all, but you seem more like a knuckle-scrapping fart in the wind than anything else. No offense.
Do you know who I am? I shall show you the wrath of the mighty Goliath.
Trick! Hey, do you do parties?
By the time Devil May Cry 5 came out, I think everyone already kind of knew what to do with this boss, because he was the boss in the demo, and he's really no different. Even on the harder difficulties, he doesn't do much, he just hits harder. You'll probably still get caught once or twice, unless you're desperately going for the no damage runs on Hell and Hell and such. You'll probably get clipped once or twice, especially because I'm also talking whilst playing. I'm a lot more likely to get tapped. I've been, without meaning to jinx it, which I know I will by saying this, I'm actually kind of impressed at how decently I've been doing as Nero, whilst also talking about other subjects. If you've been with this channel a long time, you know that every time it's something live, my concentration towards the game I'm playing goes out the window a little bit. I struggle to keep myself going, because I'm not that great at multitasking, and I end up stuttering over myself more if I do have to concentrate on the game. If I'm super focused on the game, I usually either go quiet or start stuttering over every word, because I'm doing it already. I just can't do both, and I don't think technically no one can. If I may be my psychologist big brain right now, as someone who studied psychology, no one can. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain cannot do two tasks at the exact same time. You do one in thoughts and the other you do on muscle memory. That's the only way you do any kind of multitasking. You can process multiple pieces of information at once, but you can't have your brain tell your body to do two different tasks at once at the same time. It just doesn't happen. So I'm either concentrating on what I'm doing with my hands or concentrating on what I'm talking. And more often than not, I just lean into concentrating on what I'm talking and let my muscle memory try and take over when playing the game. Which is why sometimes you'll see me play it super safe and do the same sort of shit, especially if I get enemies in the air. It'll be a bit more relaxed when it gets to V, because I don't really enjoy playing with them anyway, so I won't be focusing on playing full stop. Right, this is what I mean, so I'm going to try and charge it up. Okay, never mind. Let's just go for the showdown, and I will worry about getting him later. So I'll tell you what confused me and why I let go of it so early. is because the gun charged and I saw the flash and just assumed that was ragtime. Never mind. Is it possible to stun this guy twice? On DMD? I'm going to assume not and just burn out the bus drops and get Gerber back. Like, if I'm wrong, so be it. I'll just throw him with the normal Devil Bringer. It'll do far less damage, but I can still show off the throw. But I don't think we can. Oh, there's a Sweet Surrender on the ground, by the way. I'm not going to use it. I don't think you can stun this guy twice. Like, we'll find out together, guys. But on easier difficulties, I know you can, but I just don't think you can on DMD. Like, straight up hard stun him. Like, you can knock him back like I just did. Especially now he's in DMD, I don't think we're stunning him. In Devil Trigger, I mean. Because, yeah, bosses included do Devil Trigger when you're on the hardest difficulty, when they're about 2/3 done. So they do get not only the attack increase, but the defense increase as well. Which is why that health bar is barely moving. And it is something I'm gonna... not, like, hard criticize, and, like, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just something to talk about that you feel a lot more in DMD. Some of the bosses in this game, I think, do just have a bit too much health. You work out what you're doing, you get a good flow for it, and then 10 minutes later, they're still going. Like, there's a boss later on in Mission 16 that is, like, the prime candidate of exactly what I mean. That boss fight lasts a fucking lifetime, especially on DMD. And it has no real reason to. Like, I genuinely feel that the Clyforth Root's health, the boss we fought in Mission 1, was a good starting... Oh god, okay, he shoots twice, forgot about that. I assumed he shot once, so I was mistaken. But I genuinely believe that the Clyforth Root's boss health should have been the standard. Oh, you can stun him twice, okay. Like, it should have been the standard. Like base it around that, make it slightly higher for the chunkier bosses and slightly lower for the skinnier bosses, because I think that was a healthy length. Whilst Goliath was still wailing on him, and we're gonna be for the next, like, 2 or 3 minutes yet, potentially. I mean, he doesn't have much left, but that's just what I mean. I say that if I get a good full charge and, like, a good release and maybe a Devil Trigger in there, I might be able to finish him in the next, like, 20 seconds or so. Let's get you in there. Let's rip him with this. And... oh, God! Also, did you recognize those fireballs? Urizen was using them. Most of Urizen's movesets are borrowed from every single boss you're going to be fighting up to it, because they're all linked to the Clyforth Root, and he is from the core of the Clyforth Root. So, of course, it makes sense. Oh, and he's dead.
I curse my stars in bit of grief and woe. That made my love so high, and me so low. Thee home.
Thought I was gonna have to pick you out of his, tummy teeth.
Pardon my delay. I was catching up on some reading.
Yeah, looks like a real page-turner. So, think Dante's still in there?
If Urizen defeated him, then I expect he's not much more than Glyphod pollen by now.
A what?
Glyphod. It's a tree that grows in the underworld. It thrives on human blood, and those whose blood it sucks, well, let's just say they don't turn out too well.
Well, in any case, we need to find out. If Dante's alive, we'll save him. If not, we don't.
Wait. First, we need to exterminate some Glyphod roots.
V. What the hell are you?
I know, I'm late. Shut it! The roads were all clogged. Hey, you must be V, huh? Hey, you gonna get that? Ding, 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 right by your feet. Ooh-wee! I'm gonna make something amazing out of this.
Did you just sniff that? Do you have any idea where that's been?
Up your butt?
Focus on the mission.
Now that we've finally found V, we can start planning ahead of what to do next as we get 8,500 points on the S-Rank. Let's keep that in mind when we start getting like the Bs in Dante's missions. But until then, take care now. Peace.